Hello everyone, and this is Shelly with Life Creates Art. I am so glad that you are here to join me for this finger painting video. It's really going to be a fun video for finger painting for adults. This is not a kid's finger painting video. Now, this is something that I did yesterday. These are just clouds. This is just a first step, actually the second step in what we're going to be doing today. The background first, cloud second, and then we are going to be working on the third step, which is going to be these little blossoms here. We're going to be adding these blossoms here, and there you go. We're going to be adding the branches and then adding our own blossoms, which is, we're going to be adding our own little colors and everything to these blossoms. When I went to Japan, I was 17 and it was an exchange program. I was there for 2 months. And I loved the cherry blossom trees. And in Japan, the cherry blossom trees, they're called sakurako. And because I love them so much, and I would always go, oh, look, cherry blossom. Oh, look, cherry blossom. They called me Sakuraku. That was my nickname. And so I am, even though a friend posted this on Facebook, and that's his almond tree, I am going to call them cherry. It's a cherry blossom to me. And so we're going to paint little pink and going to add a little bit of the whites and the pinks and make them whatever color you want. And that's the beauty of painting with black and white, is that you can make them whatever color comes to your imagination. Before I get started though, and letting you know what we need for finger painting, I wanted to let you know that if you like my page, if you like what I do here on Life Creates Art, I wanted to encourage you to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and also communicate with me. I want to hear from you. And also, I am wearing my Agoo and the Monkey shirt. It's the children's book that I have written, Agoo and the Monkey, and it's very, very interactive. It'll be down in the description below. It is a wonderful, wonderful book, and the artwork illustrations were done by Zender Canizales, and just beautiful illustrations. And you can go through the book. It might take, a couple of reads sometimes, for depending on how old your child is, but it's really interactive, wonderful, wonderful book. So I encourage you to get this book. Children maybe 2, 3 years old and up can read it. So anyway, let's move on with our finger painting. So finger painting is a way that you can really, really get in touch with your art. In touch with your art. But here at Life Creates Art, of course, we encourage also not just getting artistic and creative, but we also want to encourage you to interact with your life too and improve your life. So it is with the finger painting, I want to encourage you to get in touch with people. We're still in this COVID period. Some people are still sort of feeling like they need to stay inside. Don't forget about those people who are still sort of trapped in their houses, or still maybe trapped in the hospital, or trapped in those homes, those care facilities, and can't reach out to people. So as we get in touch with, we have this really, really beautiful way to reach with finger painting. It's a wonderful way to get in touch and you feel your art more with your fingers. Let's not forget to really reach out to those who need us, and reach out to them by letters and maybe call them. And don't forget to do that. Okay, this is a really, really unique time for us. So now, what do you need for finger painting? You need something to put your paint on. I use plates. I use paper plates sometimes. You need water, lots of water, so you can dip your fingers in there. You're going to need a wet paper towel to wipe your hands off onto, and some paper towels, something to make sure, because this is messy. It will run down your arms and everything. That's why I wore short sleeve today, is because it will run down your arms. And of course, your paints. Get them all set up so that they can be handy to you, because you're going to have paint all over your hands. But really, you don't need any brushes. You don't need anything. And then your canvas, whatever you're going to be working with. Today, I'm going to be working with a 12 by 12, and we're just going to dig right in and get started now. So, all right, so we're going to get started on the sky of just the sky. And then we're going to put, once that dries, we're going to put clouds on top of that. I have 3 colors here for the sky. I have, of course, the blue and the dark blue and the white, because I want sort of a gradation. I want sort of a darker blue up here, and then I want it to go to sort of the lighter blue and more of the white down towards the bottom. And I'm just going to do this with my fingers. I'm going to be using a lot of water here, but it's just a wonderful process. I did this yesterday and it's just terrific. So dipping my fingers in water, and I'm going to be adding it to the blue, adding it to my plate and having it on my fingers. And I'm just going to add the dark blue first here with my hands. I'm really getting in there with the paint, not forgetting the top. I'm going to take this down. I'm going to have my husband add a photo of what we're building, the picture that we're building periodically, maybe in the corner. I apologize if this is jumping around a little bit. Just sort of building that dark blue there first. And then I'm going to come in. I just dipped a bunch of the paint in my hand and then just went to the water. And again, I'm going to dip my hand in water and just put it all over. Oh, I love this. I love this process because you can use your entire hand and just get all over there, all over the canvas. Get a little heavier with my blue, my lighter blue. I did not use any water this time. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this blue on my hand, but I'm going to just go right to my white, and I'm not going to put any water on it right now. I'm just going to come right across there because I want it pretty white down here at the base. But then I'm going to, don't forget your sides. Then I'm going to dip my hand in the water, and I'm going to start bringing this white up a little bit. All right. Let's start dipping my hand more and bringing this white up a little bit. And then blending just with my hand. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, it feels so nice. It just feels so nice to get in contact with the paint. And look at the images that you can create. I mean, look at this. Wouldn't it be wonderful here, I'll do this. Wouldn't it be wonderful to create some ocean waves here? There's so many things that you can do just with your hand. But right now we're creating a sky. So I'm going to bring this white up a little higher. Okay, so something that I should mention that I forgot to mention was number 1, take off your rings when you do your finger painting. Some people wear gloves to do their finger painting, but I really don't like to. And the reason that I don't like to is because I don't really mind getting my fingernails all messed up. I really don't mind. I'm an artist. I don't mind getting messy. But I really like the feel of just feeling the paint. I don't like to have gloves between me and the paint. But, you know, it's just one of those things. It's a personal preference. So if you want to wear gloves, go ahead and wear gloves. But I would get gloves and not those real thick ones. I put this up here because next we're doing clouds. Here we have our sky, and now we're going to do clouds. Now, you can see that behind this tree, you can just barely see the clouds. So it's really up to me where I put the clouds. Clouds are all over the place, even behind the tree. So it's really up to me where I put the clouds. I love clouds. They're my favorite thing. And I'm just going to put them all over this painting and then let it dry again before we do our branches. So this is sort of a 4-step process. But you can see yesterday's clouds and what I did yesterday. And you can see some of the colors that I used also. So on my plate here, I have not only the white, the dark blue, the light blue, but here in the corner, I have a little bit of lavender and even black, because sometimes we have those dark shades in clouds, and even you can catch a little faint lavender. So we've got that going, and we're just going to get started here with our clouds. And again, I'm going to dip my hand in some water before I start with my clouds, because I really want my clouds just to be all over the place, and I want them to be very washed and thin, almost like watercolor. And I'm going to use some circular motion here. Continuing to dip in water. And before I define more of my clouds, I'm just going to give a wash, an all-over wash of white. Just sort of not covering up my blue too much, because I do want to keep that defined. But here I'm having it be a little more of this is a cloud, and I'm going to carry it over a little bit. This is where the tree is going to come out of. Now, as you can see here, it's running down my arm, but it's also running down my canvas, and that's okay because there's going to be clouds here, so I can use that. I can sort of wipe that. Just be careful if it's something that you don't want, if it's not going to be clouds, then just be careful of how wet you get it. Control the drips a little bit. And so we're going to continue to do this all across the canvas. I'm going to come in with a little bit of a darker color. So come in with a little bit of black. Even if it's a darker black, that's okay, because I'm going to be covering it. So this gives that balance of a little bit of darkness under my clouds. And we're just doing it all over. And don't worry, it's going to be okay. It looks a little funky right now, but it's going to be okay. And I'm also going to do my lavender a little bit, just a little bit, because you don't want to be too lavender. You don't want your clouds lavender. So I'm not going to use too much of the lavender. And I also don't want black clouds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit for just a second because I don't want to blend in my black. I want these to dry just a little bit. So I'm going to let this sit for just a second and let them dry. Okay, what I've done here is I've taken about 30 seconds and I've just sat here and blowed on my black paintings here that I did with my fingers for about 30 seconds. And that's all I did because I don't want to blend it too much, but I'm not using any water. I want to really cover these black things, but not cover them so much that they don't appear a little bit underneath. Because you want to show a little bit of it, show that contrast in the clouds. What we want to do now, though, is bring it out. We want to wet our fingers now, and we want to sort of get the cloud a little more fluffy, and use your water to get that cloud looking a little more like it's, I'm going to use my left hand, like it's a little more realistic. Now, the great thing about finger painting is anybody can do it. Anyone, no matter what your experience with paint is, anybody can do this. And that's the great thing about what I encourage with Life Creates Art, is to try things that you've never done before. And especially right now when people are inside, I know people in Texas are freezing cold. You've got plenty of time. I'm going to add a little more white over here. Finger paint. If you don't have brushes, get out some paint and finger paint. So what we can do now, actually, is something I realized yesterday. We've got all this white here. What we can do now is go in with a little bit of blue and start separating these clouds a little bit. Sort of bring in some of that blue and separate these clouds a little bit. Play with these a little bit. Play with your contrast, play with your clouds. And have some fun. I'm going to play with these for just a few minutes more, and then we'll let them dry, and then we'll get onto our branches. Okay, see you in a second. Okay, so let's get started on the branches. Now I'm going to show the picture one more time of what we're going to do with the branches. And as you can see, the picture, I'm going to bring mine out so I can see it. The picture comes in from the side and it builds out. And so what I have here on my palette is I have a dark brown. I'm going to just show you here. I have dark brown. I have a raw umber, and I have an unbleached titanium. And I actually even brought out an Indian yellow, which is a little bit of a darker yellow. I'll show you here on my hand. It's a little bit of a darker yellow. And it's really, really nice. And that's just for some highlights and all of that. But I already have white here also, which is what I would have put on my palette anyway. So we're using our hands, and I actually am not going to add any water to start out with, but I want to use my dark to start out with, and I want to get that heavy branch to start out with right at first. And I'm going to come down and use my big finger, and then I'm going to move to my smaller finger. So now I'm going to use my burnt umber, and I'm going to kind of come in here and add a little bit of texture to my branches. Just kind of going over the tops of my branches. Just adding a little bit of light texture to them. I may need to come in again with my darker and sort of go over them again. But for now, I'm just wanting to add a little bit of texture. There we go. See, that just adds a little extra something to the branches. It's very nice. And bring it down. Then maybe even some of the branches, maybe on the top, just on the top, add a little bit of this unbleached titanium, the edges of these branches, just in case some of them are going to show through. Because the center is not really going to be showing through, but some of these edge pieces, maybe the sun is going to be hitting them. So we're going to have a little sunshine on these branches, even though there's going to be some flowers, we might still have a little sunshine showing. So we want to be sure that we represent some of that sun. All right. Okay, let's bring in a little bit of yellow just to add that little bit of texture also, a little bit of yellow. It just brings in just that element of 4 colors of texture that you really, really like to see in a painting. Just adds a little something, something. So I think this is good. We've got all of these branches coming in from the side. We're going to add our flowers in just a second, as soon as this dries. I'll see you in a second. Okay, let's get started with our flowers. Now the colors that I have chosen here, I've got a nice new plate. Now here's just showing you that you can paint with anything. I have a paper plate here. It's got the wax on it, of course, but I got these at Safeway, and you can use anything. You know, I'm a professional artist. I've been painting for almost 30 years now. And I sometimes use paper plates, so you don't have to get real fancy, guys. I've got a hot pink here. I've got a very deep purple and a light pink and a white to get started with. To start with my flowers, I am going to, even though I want them light pink, I'm going to start with a deeper pink and just sort of start, I don't want them that thick. So I'm gonna use my pinky. I'm gonna wipe this off. Okay, well, I had to let that dry a little bit because it was on there pretty thick. So we're looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-step process of this throughout the day. So it is the evening time. It's 7:45, and I started this afternoon. So we're looking at letting this dry throughout the day. I'm going to start using the pink now, and again, just doing the pink over the. I'll try to do it a little thinner over the hot pink and see what I come up with here. See what it's like. And I want to see kind of what it does. Some of it's not dry, which is okay because it kind of blends it. I kind of like that. Kind of blends it together. I'm going to do this and then we will see you on the other side, and we will add some brown to the center to make it the center of the flowers, and then we'll be done. It's going to be wonderful. All right, so here I've got the pink done, and I'm going to, now that the pink is done, I'm just going to go in with a little bit of white. I don't want the white to be too primary, but I am going to tap some of these with a little bit of white. And just to give it a little bit of light. And I might have to go back in and cover that up a little bit. But you want to bring in a little bit of light, like the sun is even on your branches. Like we said, this, the sun is tipping your branches a little bit. I'm considering using this purple here, and I'm not too sure how I feel about it. But I am gonna try it over here just a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to wet my fingers like I just did. Use a little water on here and just use a little bit of the paint. And so it's almost like a watercolor, and I'm going to add it just to some of the flowers, just like this. So it's not too much, and it just brings in that little bit of darkness, so it's almost like it's under the flowers. It's like it's at the center of the flowers. And if I get too much on some of them, I may go in with the pink again, because I don't want the purple to be too primary. These are not purple flowers. But again, we're looking for texture. We're looking for something that makes the flower move, that makes the flower look like it's not just a one-dimensional flower, that it's got lots of different colors added to it, lots of different dimensions. Again, I'm doing this. And so it gives that kind of watercolor effect. And remember, this is with acrylic. Acrylic is very, very forgiving. You can paint over acrylic. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, what I decided to do was to combine the pink paint with a little bit of my dark brown, and I've come up with a little bit of this color for the inside, for the little stem part. And what I've done here is I've just used just the tip of my finger, and I'll show you just the tip of my finger, and I'm just tapping it to the center of the flowers. And that's all. Just tapping it to the center of the flowers. Of each flower, just trying to get it as small as I can so it doesn't overtake the flower too much. And then what I would like to do, so just going in and doing that to all of the flowers. And if some of them get too large, you can always go back in with your pink paint, and you can make it a little smaller. Like that one's a little large for me, so I'd like to go back in. Some of these I don't know, how to define my flowers quite yet, so I can make 2 or 3 flowers. I can make a big one, nice big one over here. And then in order to really define the stem itself, I decided you can take your pinky. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but I've taken just a little bit, I'm trying to get it to focus, just a little bit of paint, and take that stem part and just tap it a little bit. And you just want just a little tiny bit of the dark brown along with the light brown. And that just gives it a little bit of, let me see if I can just focus that in. Yeah, there we go. So you can see it here. It gives it a little bit more of just a touch of something else in that stem area. I'm going to do it right here. so you can see something a little more. So there's a stem, and then I'm going to take a little bit of my brown and I'm going to just tap it a little more. All right, now I'm going to finish the stem areas, but I'm going to back this up again. My camera back it up again, whoopsie. And we are going to add a few leaves while we're here. And I'm just going to do the dark parts first. And we're just going to add them just periodically through this. We're not going to add too many. And we're not going to make them too big. And we're going to try to make them a little bit looking like leaves. And I suggest you use your pinky for this one for sure. But I've got two colors that I'm going to use for this, the dark green and the light green. And I'll probably also throw some brown in there just to make it look a little more natural. So I will continue to work on this and just show you at the end what the completed work. But this is how you do the finger painting, and it's wonderful and it's fun, and you can create something really beautiful. It takes a long time because I've had to let it dry all day. Like I said, you know, in between all of this, we've had a plumber come to our house because one of our things blew up, but it's been just a crazy day. But that's part of the fun, is that you can come back to it and it's here for you to work on. So I'm gonna, like I said, keep working on it and show you the end. It's about getting in touch with your art. And don't forget to get in touch with people. Stay in touch with people. Stay in touch. This is the best time to be reminded to stay in touch with people. Stay in touch with your loved ones. Tell them you love them. You are not promised tomorrow. You are not promised tomorrow. So don't forget to call your loved ones and let them know you love them. And so I'll finish this and I'll show you the end result in just a second. All right, I hope you've had fun and I love you all very much. All right, Shelly with Life Creates Art signing out, and stay for just another second and you can see the end result. And don't forget to comment and like and subscribe, and I hope to talk to you soon. All right, bye.